20 minutes, going through Fable and BC, to show you a little bit from the gameplay of both of them. Please bear in mind that they're both still in development. Fable is just at the point where we've got pretty much the world and the story and the game built, and we're just at the level of balancing and refining and tweaking all the effects. BC is a little bit earlier than that, and so please bear that in mind. So let's talk a bit about Fable first of all. Fable is a role-playing game where that is set in this virtual world where you can experiment and play around with anything you like, where the hero, just check, is that all right? Yes, that's right. Where the hero will change to reflect what sort of gamer you are. What I mean by that is that we've spent a lot of time making sure that there is what we call these morphs in there, so that as the character develops, as you play the character, so he changes to reflect your style of play. So, many times that I've played role-playing games, I've had to choose at the start what sort of person I want to be. Whether I want to be a bard, or whether I want to be a fighter or a magic user. And then I've always thought to myself, well, that's a bit of a shame, because I like those cool spells, and I like, to have the cool swords. And so one of the fundamentals in Fable is, at the start of the game, you start out like anybody else. By the end of the game, your character is completely unique. To give you an example of that, there is 3 major disciplines in the game, what we call disciplines. One is strength, that's all to do with wielding weapons, it's all to do with how big and bulky you are. You're not going to be subtle, you're going to be more like Cohen the Barbarian than you are going to be a magic user. That's one discipline. The other discipline is to do with stealth and speed, it's all to do with being a Bruce Lee type character, someone who's able to move very, very, very quickly, catch arrows in mid-air. And then the last one is the magic user, and they tend to be a little bit more feeble because they've had to concentrate their powers on the magic abilities. And within those magic abilities, there are 21 different magic disciplines, and each of those magic disciplines are unique to itself. So what you can see Simon doing now is just playing around with combat. We at Lionhead, and in fact Simon, Dean and myself, we've been involved in making simulation games for a very, very long time, everything from Populous to Powermonger to Dungeon Keeper to Black and White. The thing that really challenged us was to make all those simulations with a role-playing game. It was not easy, but we knew what we were doing. The real challenge was to have combat which was as compulsive and as playable as you play the game. So it was very, very important at the time to enable the player to mix combat styles, to be able to use your sword and then use ranged combat, to mix that with magical abilities. And you just saw Simon experiment and play around with taking on different things. The other thing is, not only can the main character morph to change to reflect what sort of character you are, his morality can change. Sometimes I don't feel like being a good guy. Sometimes I feel like being the bad guy. So Simon, what Simon is able to do, he's able to take on evil quests as well as good quests. You can wander into a town, you can be really nice to people in that town. They'll appreciate you more and more as a hero. And actually, if we can just pop off to a town now, you can see some of the early stuff which you're able to do. And this is a very important thing for me, is that I want to be worshipped as a hero within the game. And if I've helped someone out, I don't want them to say, here's 100 gold and forget about me. I want them to remember. I want the whole town to remember. So later on in the game, a little bit early in the game here now, what you're able to do is wander into town. Everyone will be pleased to see you. They'll come out, they'll all cheer, and there'll even be a parade of people following you around and saying, go on, do some cool stuff. There'll be even kids and people dressing like you. There'll be dolls sold in the shop that are modelled in your image. And that is all part of being a hero. And actually, this is where we are now. This is all part of the additional stuff within Fable. Yes, there's a story you play through. Yes, it's a role-playing game. The story's got a beginning, a middle, and end. But why not allow a player console players, in addition to play around with things that they've never seen in the game before. So within this town, you can wander around, you can talk to people, you can make friends, you can even chat up girls, you can even ask them to marry you, you can even start a family off, you can settle down with that family if you want to. This story is still going on, trying to encourage you to get back to it. You should be able to do all that cool stuff as well. You can own shops, you can own houses, you can rent those houses out, you can even own whole villages. You can do some bizarre things as well. And all these things are there as part of the game. They're not, we don't encourage you to do them. If you choose to experiment with them, you'll find that you'll uncover. Simon has just changed his morale. He's just, well, he's not going to be very popular now. It's just some versions. But what you can do, and this is one of the testers back in Lionhead discovered this, is that he found